Hi everyone, we are trying to analyze one of the most important jazz standard tunes in the jazz history, composed by one of the most important pianists and composer in history, Duke Ellington. First of all, when we try to analyze the one jazz piece, we have to consider about the era and the decade of the composition. The first things is if we have in 1930s to 1960s or even 1970s, most of the jazz tunes are based on a tonal musics, and that means they are trying to focus and emphasize the tonal center and the tonal chords or any they actually they are trying to um, use all the harmony to focus on the tonic. So the first things we should consider is look at the key signature. In key signature, we don't have any flat or sharp. That means in tonal musics we have C major scale or relatively A minor scale. That means the composer should works and should use, and the composer should compose in each of these scale. So each of these scales, the first thing we should consider is focus and find whether we are in C major scale or in A minor scale. Two things is important. The first thing is focusing on a chord progression. That means how the composer uses the progression and chordal movement. We have a lot of important chord progressions in jazz music. The most important one is 2, 5, 1, and after 1 we maybe we can see the 6. So 2-5-1 or 1-6-2-5 or 6-2-5-1 or any combination of that. That's the most important chord progressions in jazz music. So the first thing is we should consider and look at the harmony. We have D minor 7, G7, D minor 7, G7, E minor 7, A7, E minor 7, A7, A minor 7, D7, A flat minor 7, D flat 7, and C major. If we consider the C major 7 a tonic, so that means the harmony is going to resolve in the first chord in a C major scale. That means C major 7. So from the first, if we consider that in C major scale, the first chord is D minor 7th, that means the second chord in the C major scale. We have G7, that means the dominant or the fifth chord. Again, 2, 5. E minor 7 is the third chord of this scale. We have A7. We should focus and try to analyze that. And E minor 7, that's again third chord. A7s, of course, we should consider and try to focus and analyze that. A minor 7 is the sixth. D7 is another things. We have A flat, D flat. These are not the tones. In the C major scale, again we have one C major scale, D minor 7's 2, E minor 7's third, and A7 we have to analyze. Two kind of scenario any jazz music should face. The first thing is whether we can use the dominant chord or the seventh chord. The first use of this chord is using the chord as a dominant. That means in C major scale, the dominant chord is the fifth chord, and this is G7. So G7 is something that we actually we are watching and we are seeing most of the time. The second scenario of using the dominant chord and the seventh chord is secondary dominant. For example, if we have C major 7th and after that we have D minor 7th, we have E minor 7th, we have F major. When we use the first chord, or this is the first chord of a scale, this is the second chord, this is the third, and this is a okay. Secondary dominant, that means if we use C major 7th and after that we are trying and we want to use the D minor 7th, between them we can use the dominant of the second chord. That means dominant of D minor 7th is A7th. This is the secondary dominant of, that means the dominant of the next chord. The dominant of the next chord after D minor 7th, the next chord after D minor 7th, E minor 7th, and dominant of that is C7th. And so on. We can use a lot of secondary dominants there. So whether if we want to analyze that in Roman numerals, we can use if we see the A7th and after that D minor 7th, we can say that this is the fifth chord. This is the dominant chord of second scale. This is the meaning of the Roman numerals analysis. So, in this situation, E minor 7 is third chord, A7 is, of course, is the fifth, is the dominant of the second scale degree and second chord. That means we have E minor 7, A7, that's the dominance of the second chord, and after that we can use whether D minor 7 or another chord. E minor 7 again is the third, we are here. E minor 7 is the third chord, A7 of course again is secondary dominant of second scale, that means. A minor 7 is a 6th chord. We have D7s. Of course, in this situation, we can consider that is we can consider it as a dominant of the dominant. That means if in this situation, if we have G7, the dominant of G7 is D7. That means this is the dominant of the dominant chord. So in this situation, we can analyze that is a 7th chord, dominant chord of the dominant of the 5th scale degree and 5th chord. We have, and after that we have two confusing chords here. Whether we are trying to analyze that and try to understand. So let me clear this, and I'm trying to say other things in order to understand these kind of chordal movements and chordal situation even better. So this is the A flat minor 7, and after that we have D flat 7s. Both of them are not in our tonality C major scale, because we don't have A flat here, and we don't have D flat, and of course we don't have any chords that's creates based on these notes. So I'm trying to talk about another substitution and reharmonization scales called Tritone substitution. What is that? In theory, in jazz theory, we have one important weapon when the composer wants to, do some things, specific, and do some things recognizable. If we have G7s, tritone substitution, that means uses we should use the tritone of G, that means D flat, and D flat 7s. That means we can substitute between these two tritones whenever we want in jazz. Of course, there are rules, but we are not trying to emphasize those rules. We just want to focus and consider and understand a little briefly about these kind of things. So that means we can use D flat 7s as a tritone substitution for G7s. So this is the D flat 7s here. That means a tritone substitution of G7. But what is A flat minor 7s? Another weapon that composers and jazz musicians use, or any other players, if they want to reharmonize the one piece and try to improvise on a different chordal progression. Another substitution or reharmonization scale is when we have the fifths, when we have the dominant chord, we can use the second chord of that scale before the dominant chord. That means if you can see the G7, and G7 is not the dominant chord of the or tonal center. Of course, you can use the D flat minor 7s and actually create 2-5. So in this kind of situation, D flat 7 is a Tritone substitution of G7. And before that, the composer used A flat minor 7 as the second scale chords. G7 is the dominant, and the first chord, which is not actually recognizable, which is not obvious right now, is G flat major 7. So that means the 2-5-1. The composer Duke Ellington used these kind of weapons a lot. After that, we have C major scale. C major, of course, this is, I'm trying to focus again. This is the Tritone of G7. And we have C major here. After that, we have G minor, C7, G minor, C7, F major. And we have B flat here, so that means the tonal situation is changed. So this is 2, 5, 2, 5, and 1. That means we are in the F major scale. After that, the B flat is gone, so we come back to C major scale. This is the fifth. D7 is the secondary dominant of the dominant chord. 6. This is the fifth of fifths. This is the G7 is the fifth chord. We have 2, and we have again G7 is the fifth chord. So that's it. Hope you enjoy, and don't forget to subscribe and like this video. Thank you.